In this video, you're going to learn how to apply your JSX event handlers, which you learned about in the last section, to your class-based components. So for example, we have action right here. We need to do something when this button gets clicked, and we already know that we're going to be setting up onClick to get that done. OnClick gets sets equal to, then inside of our JavaScript expression, we reference a function. Now in the past, we created a set of global functions, things like onFormSubmit, onRemoveAll, and onMakeDecision, and that was okay then, but what we want to do now is create a self-containing class. So instead of referencing some global function defined at the top of the file, we're just going to create a brand new class method, like we learned about in the ES6 classes video. Right here, I could set up a method like handlePick that is going to fire when someone clicks that button. Now, how do we actually set that up? Well, we just access this, which we know points to the component class instance dot handlePick. Now remember, we don't want to call it, we just want to reference it. So do not add parentheses afterwards. We are going to reference it, and it's going to get called when someone actually clicks that button. Right here, for now, we can just alert handlePick. We'll just alert the method name to the screen to confirm it's actually getting wired up correctly. I'm going to save app.js, the browser is going to refresh, and if I click that button, we do indeed get the alert, which is a great first step. So now we have one of our 3 event handlers set up. Right here, we've successfully set up the button for handling that pick. Down below, what you're going to do is add a new button to the options component. That is going to be a remove all button. Add remove all button. Then you're going to set up a method, set up handle remove all, and this one is just going to alert something to the screen. Alert some message, and then finally you're just going to actually set up onClick. Set up onClick to fire the method. So you're going to go through the exact same steps we just did above, but you're going to create a brand new button, and you can do that right here. Then you can define your new method right here. So take some time to knock that one out, test your work. Try to click the new button, which should show up, and make sure your alert shows up as well. Pause the video, and when you're done, go ahead and click play. All right, here we're just putting together some things we already know how to do. We know how to set up methods. We know how to set up event handlers. When we put it all together, we create something really nice. What I'm going to start off with is that button. We just need a regular static button. And we do want to give it a text value right here, remove all. Now the goal is to do something on click, so I'm going to set up on click, setting it equal to, and right here we're going to access a method on this. Now, what's the method going to be? Well, we can set up a method called handle remove all. Does it exist yet? Nope, but we'll create it in just a second. Now that we are referencing this method, it's probably a good idea to define it, handle remove all. We're going to go ahead and set up our arguments list. We don't need any. We just need to know the button was clicked. Then we can go ahead and alert something. Alert. And you could have put anything you liked in here. I'm just going to put the method name, handle remove all. So we can confirm that this is the method that's actually getting called. With this in place, let's go ahead and remove the comments for the challenge setup. I'm going to save the file, and we'll see if we actually get our button and if we get our alert when we click it. Right here, the button is showing up, and if I click it, handle remove all is showing up. So we have our 2 buttons, and we're able to do something when they get clicked. Now, there is one more place we used an event handler in the JSX InDecision app, and that was near the bottom. So we had an add option form. Currently, we just have the add option component, and the component doesn't actually render a form to the screen. Now, once again, you already know everything you need to know in order to get this done. So in order to give you the most hands-on experience possible, this is going to be your second of 2 challenges. We already did 1. This is number 2. So right here, step 1 is to set up the form. Set up the form with the text input and submit button. Now we already have this form set up in the JSX InDecision application. You want to set it up the exact same way. Step 2 is to go ahead and actually wire up on submit. Wire up on submit. We want to do something when the form gets submitted, and in this case, we're just going to call a method, and that brings us to step 3. Step 3 is to actually define the method we're going to be wiring up. We can call this one something like handle add option, and handle add option is going to, first up, fetch the value typed, and if it exists, if value, then alert. So you're going to grab the item from the text input. If it's more than just an empty string, you're going to alert it to the screen. If it is just an empty string, you're going to go ahead and do nothing at all. Now we already have all of this logic set up in JSX Indecision. All you need to do is get it integrated into this class-based component and into that brand new handle option method. So take some time to get this one done. You can remove the string text down below. That's no longer going to be necessary. Make sure the alert shows up when it should and doesn't when it shouldn't. Go ahead, pause the video, knock this out, and when you're done, click play. All right, how'd that one go? I'm going to kick things off by removing the static text, and I'm going to set up our form tag. Inside of the form tag, we're going to be adding the input and the button, which we already have over inside of JSX Indecision. Now we could go ahead and copy and paste that, but we could also just knock it out. It's an input with a type value set to text and the name set equal to option. Then we go ahead and we close that off and move on to our button. The button is our submit button. And this submit button is indeed going to have some text right here. What's the text value? Add option. So now that we have the forms HTML in place, we do want to wire up on submit. That is step 2. On submit, just like on click, takes a function to call, and this is going to be a method. We don't have the method defined, but we can still reference it. This dot handle add option. Excellent. Now that we do have this referenced, we can go ahead and up above define that method, handle add option. Now, does handle add option need to take an argument? Yes. In this case, we do want to grab the event just like we did over inside of JSX Indecision. It's not enough to know that the form was submitted. We need to know what it was submitted with. Now, we already wrote all of the code to pull that value out. We wrote that over in JSX Indecision. Step 1 is to use e.prevent_default. That prevents the default form submission process. That's where we get the full page refresh. That is not what we want. Next up, we want to go ahead and grab the option text. I'll make a const option for that. And we're going to set it equal to e.target. That is the form element. We are going to go into its elements where we can fetch them by their name. In our case, we just have one option. And this is the actual input element, and we just want to grab its value property. And this is exactly what we have over inside of the other file. Now, all we need to do is check if there was an option. If option, do something. What do we want to do? We want to alert that option. So I can alert it, alert option. Perfect. Now that we have this in place, we can go ahead and actually remove the comments and test our work. I'm going to go ahead and save app.js. That is going to refresh the application. And right here, we do get our form. If I click add option, nothing happens at all. If I go ahead and type some value in and click add option again, we do indeed get that value. And the same is true if I submit the form when focused on the input by hitting the enter key. Once again, the alert shows up. Now, if I go ahead and type in a bunch of spaces, you're going to notice that I do still get the message. So we can always go ahead and fix that using the trim string method. Trim is going to remove all leading and trailing spaces. So in the case of this, Andrew Mead, with a bunch of spaces before and after, trim is going to remove the guys before and the guys after, but it's not going to affect inner spaces. So dot trim, and you can see we get exactly what I just described back. We can do the exact same thing right here. We're going to get the value, which is just a string, and we're going to trim it. Now, if we go ahead and try to submit an empty input with a bunch of spaces, and we click add option, nothing's going to happen because all of those spaces get erased, and in the end of the day, we'll end up with an empty string, so the alert isn't going to fire. We're going to be adding more form validation and data sanitization later, but for now, we have a really nice setup. Let's take a quick moment to recap what we did. We still used our JSX event attributes on submit and on click, and we still referenced a function we want to call. though instead of being a global function which lives at the top of the file, it is a class method, something that is contained inside of the class. That means at option, it has everything it needs to run. It has the HTML that's going to eventually render, it has the event handler, and it has that method, the method being defined right here. We did that for add option, we did it for handle remove all in the options component, and we did it for handle pick in the action component. Now that we have this in place, let's continue on to the next video where we're going to look into a roadblock that we're about to run into. So what we're going to explore in the next video is the this binding and how it relates to our React component methods. I'm real excited to get to that, so stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video.